Drink your oatmeal, Caitlin, Saria said, tossing my ballet dress onto the sofa. The sequins on the hem scraped against the fabric, making a faint yet harsh rustling sound. Ms. Alana added a private lesson today. You know what will happen if you're even 1 second late. My hand holding the spoon froze. The steam from the oatmeal fogged my glasses. Mom, I didn't finish my art homework yesterday. The art teacher is collecting it today. Art? Saria scoffed, snatching the sketchbook from in front of me. On the cover was a lopsided ballet shoe I'd secretly drawn the night before, next to a little bird holding a paintbrush. Her fingers tightened, crumpling the corner of the book. Caitlin Bates, I spend a fortune on your ballet lessons, and this is what you waste your time on? Do you think it's easy for me? I work 2 extra jobs just to pay for your classes. But I don't like ballet, I said. The words fell from my throat like a tiny stone, soft as a sigh, yet they echoed through the living room. Saria's face darkened instantly. She set down her coffee cup with a loud clatter on the coffee table. Don't like it? Everything I do is for you. Do you know how badly I wanted to go to the Royal Ballet Academy when I was young? I had to give it up because your grandmother said dancing was a dead end. Now I'm giving you every chance I never had, and you dare say you don't like it? I hung my head, staring at my blurry reflection in the oatmeal. I'd heard this speech for 8 years, ever since she first pressed me against the ballet bar at 5 years old, up until now, at 13. I'd gone through one pair of ballet shoes after another, the toes patched up repeatedly where they'd worn through. Yet I still couldn't master the arabesque. Every time I tried, I lost my balance and fell to the floor, my knees never free of bruises. Hurry up and eat. We leave in 10 minutes, Saria said, tossing the sketchbook back into my arms as she turned to grab her car keys. Don't make me get physical, Caitlin. I don't want Ms. Alana thinking we're uncultured. I bit down on my spoon, tears dripping into the oatmeal, salty and bitter, mixing with the warm creamy scent. Dad Johnson poked his head out of the study, his eyes filled with apology, but he said nothing. He just handed me a tissue silently, as he always did, choosing to stay quiet in the face of Saria's anger. The mirrors in the ballet studio were cold and harsh. Ms. Alana grabbed my waist, yanking my leg upward forcefully. Stand up straight, Caitlin. What are you doing? You're like a noodle with no bones. Saria sat in a chair in the corner, notebook in hand, frowning and jotting down notes now and then. Ms. Alana, is she slacking off again? I tell her to practice at home, but she always makes excuses about not feeling well. No, Mrs. Bates, Ms. Alana said, releasing me. I stumbled and caught myself, my knee slamming into the bar with a sharp pain that made me gasp. Caitlin is trying her best, but she really doesn't seem to have a talent for ballet. Perhaps. Talent? Saria shot to her feet, her voice rising so loud the whole studio could hear. She slammed her notebook down on the chair. Talent is earned. I was far worse than her when I was young, and I still almost got into the Royal Academy. She's just not paying attention, always daydreaming about that nonsense. Look at Lena next to her, she practices 8 hours a day and can already dance the entire Swan Lake. And you? I waste all this money on you, and you can't even hold an arabesque steady. You're a waste of my effort. Her gaze cut into me like a knife, ignoring the strange looks from the other parents. I'm warning you, Caitlin Bates, if you don't do better in this lesson, you won't eat. I don't have such a useless daughter. The other parents turned to stare, and my face burned with embarrassment. I wished I could sink into the floor. Ms. Alana sighed, said no more, and just gestured for me to keep practicing. That private lesson felt endless. I fell at least 10 times, and each time, Saria only said coldly, get up and keep going, never once asking if I was hurt. By the end of the class, my ankle was swollen, and every step sent a sharp pain shooting up my leg. Mom, my ankle hurts, I whispered. Saria glanced at my ankle, her eyes showing no sympathy, only disgust. Her voice was as cold as ice. It's just a little injury. Stop being so weak. What dancer doesn't get hurt? When I was young, my feet would swell up like steamed buns, and I still kept dancing. This is nothing. You're just faking it to get out of practicing. She grabbed my arm, her grip so tight it felt like she was going to crush it. There's a regional audition training tomorrow. If you dare skip it, I'll throw away all your art supplies. I'll even pull you out of school and make you practice ballet with me every day until you get it right. I clenched my fists, my nails digging into my palms. Those art supplies were a birthday gift from Kieran, my friend from art class, the only person who knew how much I loved painting. He said my paintings had light, unlike his, which always looked gray and dull. When I got home, I locked myself in my room and secretly put a bandage on my swollen ankle. On my desk was my sketchbook, filled with all kinds of drawings, the sycamore tree outside the window, the neighbor's cat, Kieran's profile. My favorite drawing was of a girl in a ballet dress holding a paintbrush. That was the me I dreamed of being. Knock, knock, knock. It was Dad. He walked in with a glass of milk, set it on the desk, and stroked my head gently. Caitlin, does it hurt? I nodded, and tears streamed down again. Dad, I really don't want to dance ballet anymore. I want to paint. Johnson sighed and sat on the edge of my bed, his voice heavy with fatigue. I know, honey. Ballet was truly her whole life when she was young. She saved every penny to buy her first pair of Pointe shoes and practiced in an abandoned warehouse every dawn. When her feet got blisters, she'd wrap them in cloth and keep dancing, crying silently from the pain. But your grandmother refused to agree, saying dancing was no proper career. She even cut up Saria's Pointe shoes and forced her to drop out of school to work in a factory. After that, she changed completely, burying all her dreams deep inside. Then you were born, and her eyes lit up. She said she had to make you stand on the stage of a ballet theater for her. All these years, she's kept a box full of ballet magazines and old Pointe shoes, flipping through them every night before bed. She's spent all her savings on your ballet lessons, even putting off her own medical treatment, afraid it would interfere with your classes. It's not that she doesn't love you, she's turned her obsession with ballet into a pathological fixation. But that's no excuse to push me, I sobbed. Her dream is hers, not mine. I don't want to fulfill it for her. I just want to live my own life. I've talked to her so many times, but she won't listen, Johnson said, his eyes filled with helplessness. She always says she doesn't want you to end up with regrets like she did. Caitlin, just hold on a little longer. When you're older, you'll have the right to choose for yourself. I knew Dad meant well, but those 3 words, hold on a little longer, felt like a heavy weight on my chest. I lived every day under Saria's expectations, like a marionette with no thoughts or desires of my own. Early the next morning, Saria dragged me out of bed. My ankle was even more swollen, and I could barely stand. Mom, I really can't go to the training. I can't even stand up straight. Cut the crap. Saria threw a new pair of ballet shoes in front of me. I bought these professional Pointe shoes just for you. Put them on, and don't you dare say no. I stared at the brand new shoes, their white leather glinting coldly like a pair of shackles. I didn't want to put them on, but I knew Saria would do something even more extreme if I resisted. Slowly, I picked up the shoes and slipped them on. A sharp pain shot through my ankle, but I bit my lip and held back the tears. The training was held at the city's central gymnasium, packed with girls competing in the audition. Kieran was there too, sketching with his art teacher. When he saw me, his eyes lit up, and he ran over. Caitlin, what are you doing here? What's wrong with your foot? I'm here for ballet training, I whispered, instinctively pulling my swollen ankle back. Saria walked over and pulled Kieran away roughly, her tone hostile. Who are you? Stay away from my daughter. Don't distract her from practice. Mom. He's my friend Kieran, I hurried to say. Friend? Saria scoffed. I think he's a bad influence. Caitlin, I'm warning you, stay away from these art kids. They'll only ruin your future. Kieran's face turned bright red. He clenched his paintbrush, wanting to say something, but held back in the end. He just looked at me deeply and walked away. Watching his retreating figure, I felt a mix of grievance and anger. Why was Saria always like this? Who gave her the right to dismiss my friend and my passions? The training started. The coach was a strict woman who made us practice spins. I tried to spin once, but the pain in my ankle made me lose my balance instantly, and I crashed hard to the floor. I heard snickers from around me and lay there, unwilling to get up. Caitlin Bates, the coach shouted, her voice like a whip. Get up now. If you don't want to compete, get out of here. Saria yelled from the audience seats. Caitlin. Get up right now. Don't embarrass me. I slowly looked up at Saria, her face a mix of expectation and anger. She suddenly seemed like a stranger to me. This woman who claimed to do everything for my own good had never once asked what I wanted or cared about how I felt. All she cared about was her own dream, about whether I could fulfill the regret she'd carried for so long. I quit. I stood up and shouted at Saria, my voice trembling with emotion. I've never liked ballet. You forced me into this. Your dream is yours, not mine. I'm not going to live for you anymore. The gym fell completely silent. All eyes turned to me. Saria froze, staring at me in disbelief, her face draining of color. What did you say? I said I quit. I took off my Pointe shoes and threw them on the floor, the sound of leather hitting the ground echoing sharply. I love painting, not ballet. I'm not going to sacrifice myself for your dream anymore. You always say you're doing this for me, but you've never once truly thought about me. You only see me as a tool to fulfill your own dream. You ungrateful brat. Saria rushed toward me, raising her hand to hit me. But Johnson ran over just in time and stopped her. Saria. Calm down. Johnson shouted. Saria struggled, tears streaming down her face. I've sacrificed so much for her. Everything I do is for her own good. How could she treat me like this? I just don't want her to have regrets like I do. But you can't force your regrets on her. Johnson's voice rose. She has her own life and her own dreams. What you're doing is only making her miserable. Watching Saria sob uncontrollably, I felt no sympathy, only relief. I turned around and ran toward Kieran, who was standing not far away, holding his paintbrush, his eyes filled with encouragement. You did the right thing, Caitlin, Kieran said. I nodded, tears falling again, but this time, they were tears of joy. Kieran, can I finally focus on painting now? Of course you can, Kieran said, pulling a new sketchbook out of his bag and handing it to me. Here, I hope you can paint more pictures full of light. I took the sketchbook, my fingers brushing its smooth cover. My heart was filled with hope. I knew Saria might not accept this right away, and our conflict wasn't over yet. But I had no regrets. I'd finally found the courage to speak my mind and break free from a dream that had never been mine. That night, I didn't go home. I stayed at Kieran's house. His mom was a kind woman. After hearing my story, she just hugged me gently and said, Caitlin, be brave and be yourself. Early the next morning, Johnson called me, saying Saria had locked herself in her room, refusing to eat or drink. I hesitated for a moment, then decided to go home and see her. When I got home, the living room was in chaos. My art supplies were scattered on the floor, and my sketchbook was torn to pieces. Saria was sitting on the sofa, her eyes red and swollen. When she saw me, she stood up suddenly. "How dare you come back?" "Mom, I came back to talk to you calmly," I said, picking up the pieces of my sketchbook, my heart aching. But I tried to keep my voice steady. "I know you love me, and I know about the regret you've carried since you were young. But I really don't like ballet. I love painting, and I want to be an artist. I hope you can respect my choice." "Respect your choice?" Saria scoffed. "I've spent so much money on your teachers and so much time accompanying you to practice, and you want to give up just because you don't like it? Caitlin, you're so selfish." "Selfish? You're the one who's selfish." I couldn't help raising my voice too. "You've never once asked what I wanted. You just forced your dream on me. You think you're doing this for my own good, but you have no idea how miserable I am. I live in fear and anxiety every day, scared I'll never be good enough, scared I'll disappoint you. I've even thought about running away." Saria froze, staring at me in shock. Clearly, she'd never realized that her so-called love had caused me so much pain. Johnson walked over and handed Saria a glass of water. "Saria, listen to her. We can't ruin our daughter's life because of our own regrets. I was useless back then, I couldn't help you fulfill your dream. This isn't Caitlin's fault." Saria took the glass, her hand trembling slightly. She looked at the torn sketchbook pieces on the floor, then at my red, tear-stained eyes. Tears streamed down her face again. I just don't want her to regret it when she's older, like I do." "Mom, everyone's life is different," I said, walking over and taking her hand gently. "I'll never regret choosing painting, just like you never regretted giving up ballet to take care of Grandma. True love isn't control or pressure. It's supporting me in chasing my own dreams, not forcing me to fulfill yours." Saria fell silent for a long time, then finally nodded, tears pouring down harder. "I'm sorry, Caitlin. Mom was wrong. I shouldn't have forced you, shouldn't have imposed my dream on you." Hearing those words, I couldn't hold back any longer. I threw my arms around Saria and cried. 8 years of grievance and pain melted away in that moment. The days that followed were like a gentle redemption. Saria not only carefully put away all my art supplies but also took the initiative to inquire about the best art classes in the city. She even secretly learned how to mix paint and frame artwork. She never mentioned ballet again. Instead, every night before bed, she'd flip through my sketchbook, pointing at a drawing and asking, "Caitlin, the eyes of this little cat are so bright. Is it Mia from next door?" Sometimes when I stayed up painting, she'd bring me a glass of warm milk, placing it gently on the desk and tiptoeing away so she wouldn't disturb me. Once, I accidentally saw her flipping through the torn sketchbook, gluing the pieces back together one by one, tears in her eyes. Kieran and I painted every day. When we went sketching in the park, Saria would voluntarily carry our art bags, help us find the best angles, and bring us fruit and water. She even came with us to art galleries, listening carefully as I explained the style and connotation of each painting, and occasionally offering her own opinions. My painting skills improved more and more. In the school art competition, I won first prize with a piece called Wings of Dreams. It depicted a girl holding a pair of Pointe shoes in one hand and a paintbrush in the other, with shining wings on her back. On the awards ceremony day, both Saria and Johnson came. Saria had specially put on a light blue dress and a touch of makeup. When she saw me standing on the podium, she was so excited that tears filled her eyes, and she clapped vigorously. When I stepped down, she hurried over and hugged me tightly, her voice trembling. "Caitlin, you're amazing. Mom is so proud of you, truly." Johnson stood aside, watching us mother and daughter, a long-missed smile on his face. Saria also walked over to Kieran and apologized sincerely. Kieran, I'm sorry I was so unreasonable before. Thank you for always encouraging Caitlin. You're a good kid. Kieran smiled shyly. Mrs. Bates, it's okay. I know you were just looking out for Caitlin. I smiled, watching this warm scene. That night, our family went out to dinner to celebrate, along with Kieran. At the table, Saria took the initiative to mention that she planned to sign up for an adult dance class in the community, not to fulfill some unmet dream, but simply because she loved the feeling of dancing. She also said she would fully support me in pursuing my art dreams, accompanying me to more competitions and exhibitions. I realized that true love isn't control or coercion, it's respect and support. Parents who claim to act in their children's best interests should understand that children aren't tools to fulfill their parents' dreams. They have their own lives and their own pursuits. When parents learn to let go, they not only allow their children to chase their own light but also free themselves from their obsessions to live their own wonderful lives. Today, our family has finally found the happiness we'd long missed. This kind of happy ending is the most beautiful one of all.